Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Endicott Invest channel. Today, we're going to talk about Nebius. Now, a couple pieces of news dropped this week, yesterday and today. And so I just want to kind of quickly cover them as I think they're important for the continuation of the Nebius thesis. Now, firstly, like we always do in our videos, we'll go look at the stock price just as it stands. Currently in pre-market, it's down around 5%. And so, again, there's a lot going on, obviously, macro-wise and geopolitically wise. There's a lot going on in Iran, and the conflict there. So that could be causing it as pretty much the entire growth market is down. And so I don't think it pertains entirely to just, it's only down because Nebius is down. But regardless, I like to show the stock price just to give you guys a gauge of where we're at and how maybe, the stock reacts to news. So the first thing I want to talk about was the Independence Council meeting. So as you guys know, Nebius is building a massive AI data center in Independence, Missouri, or attempting to. And so they need approval from the council to be able to do so. This meeting in particular dealt with the tax rebate, but I first wanted to kind of show you, just in my opinion, in some cases, how ludicrous it could be. Some people are holding no data centers. So I said, oh, no data centers. Looks like they want data centers because it's a double negative, or yeah, which makes it positive, right? Which I thought was kind of funny. Again, this lady was spitting. She was talking about how we cannot allow this opportunity to escape our community, all the jobs it's going to create, all of the blah, 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 blah. Kind of goes into that. But that was sort of the whole thing last night. I think it was a total of like 100 something guests or 60 guests were allowed to speak. Most of the people that I listened for a couple hours, just so you guys don't have to. Most of the things I was hearing was bad for the environment. It's going to be loud. We have to pay all our taxes. Why don't they? And so I think majority, about 80% of the people said no to the vote in terms of the people in the community, and around 20% said yes. Most of the people saying yes were people that have worked in data centers, work in construction, or have done something like this before. And so anyone that said yes, it seemed like, besides that woman there, she was a teacher. It seemed like basically like, hey, I've worked in data centers. This is going to provide a bunch of jobs. It's not as dangerous as you think. It's a closed loop system. Blah blah blah. And so they kind of went back and forth. But we have the official vote that came out last night, and on that vote, it was okayed by the meeting or by the council. And so they got a yes vote. So after roughly hours of public comment, the city commission voted 5-2 on Monday night in favor of the data center proposal. Now, of the people that said no, the mayor said no, which is interesting. But the other five said yes, and then one other person said no. I'm not entirely sure who said no in that instance, but I know that the mayor was one of the people that did not say yes. Just wanted to call that out. So European-owned Nebius Group wants to build what it calls an AI factory on 400 acres. We kind of know what this is, near Highway 78 and a Little Blue Parkway. Supporters say the project would bring jobs and long-term tax revenue. Critics argue the incentives are too generous and worry about the impact on utilities in nearby neighborhoods. More than 60 people. Okay, so there were more than 60 people signed up to speak during the meeting, each given up to 5 minutes. Nebius is asking the city to take a legal title of the property, allowing the development to operate as a tax exempt under a 20-year agreement. The company is requesting a 90% tax abatement on both the buildings and the servers inside. The computers would be replaced roughly every 5 years, which isn't entirely true, by the way. That's more of a generalized statement, but it's a fair thing, I guess, to say out loud. In lieu of traditional property taxes, Nebius says it would pay hundreds of millions of dollars to the city and the independent school district over the life of the agreement. The school district has endorsed the proposal. The facility would span more than 2 million square feet and require electricity comparable to roughly 500,000 homes. Once operational, it expected to create about 130 full-time jobs, along with construction work during development. Residents expressed strong feelings on both sides of the vote. These aren't just hypotheticals. These aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet, said Rachel Gonzalez, an independent resident. These are real people with real histories, real fears, and real stakes. Other urge commission members not to let the opportunity slip away. We cannot allow this golden opportunity to escape us. That was Lynn Baker, as I mentioned here. She was the one right here talking about that this opportunity cannot escape us. She was definitely the clear Nebius, pro Nebius on voting yes. And so, sort of jokingly, the whole community was like, this is our mascot, this is our queen, sort of thing, which I just thought was kind of funny. But yeah, she ended up kind of saying, "We cannot allow this opportunity to escape us. This company will go to another city, and another city will reap the financial benefits," which is true, right? I mean, realistically, they only cities can only say no so many times, and so to me, and I fully agree with Lynn there, is that like it's good. They're going to go somewhere else. Why don't we benefit from this now? 20 years and 90% tax abatement is pretty crazy. Um, Someone said yesterday that Nebius needs us. We don't need Nebius. Kind of agree. Being a Nebius shareholder, I agree. Um, they don't need Nebius. Nebius can find another city, and so hey, I agree, and I respect people being able to speak out about their community and what that means. But yeah, just so people know, that means the Independence, Missouri data center is not being built yet. There's still some things that have to go on. From my understanding, there's still a possibility that people can still veto this vote if they get enough signatures from the community. And so I'll be looking. I'll keep an eye out for you guys and give you guys any updated reports on it. But that means the site is still a possibility. I think what the team said and what Nebius said is if this did get a no vote, if they didn't get the tax payments, the site would have not happened. And so again, I think this would have been a pause or a stop on the build out if they said no. And so that's why I think this is an important milestone moving forward. Now, the next piece of news, which is a pretty interesting one that came out this morning. But I want to kind of go ahead and kind of dive into it. Now, there is a lot to cover, and so it will be a little wordy, but I wanted to just talk about why NetBase is so innovative, um, and why I think this is super important for just their long-term thesis and the growth. So, Nebius breaking, and also please follow Mark Hogan. He's one of the OG Nebius investors, and he does a great job covering the name as well. So breaking, Nebius joins EPRI, National Grid, and NVIDIA in UK first trial of Emerald AI technology that adjusts power needs of data centers in real time. And so this came directly from Nebius, and so we'll kind of go through each piece here. So again, kind of like he just said, and I'm sorry I can't zoom in here. But again, I'll read it out loud for you guys. So UK first trial of AI grid technology successfully demonstrates the ability of data centers to adjust power needs. So this is UK's first live trial of AI technology that adjusts the power usage of data centers in real time. The trial cut electricity demand of a 96 NVIDIA Blackwell Ultra cluster by more than a third in under a minute without disrupting critical compute workloads. Super interesting, right? So the National Grid and partners create an evidence base for power flexible data centers to ease grid constraints, unlock faster and higher capacity connections, and support growth of AI and low carbon power. So I want to go ahead and hop into more of just the trial here. So the live trial from halftime teas and system management. The trial tested Emerald AI software on an NVIDIA Blackwell Ultra cluster, a bank of 96 high-performance GPUs at Nebius Data Center in London. As we know, I believe it was in November when this data center got spun up, and so we're only about 4 months from there, and so they're moving pretty fast. So over 5 days in December 2025, more than 200 real-time simulated grid events, quote unquote, were sent to the site to test Emerald's conductor's ability to dynamically adjust the data center's power consumption. Each time, Emerald AI's platform successfully adjusted power use to the requested level, cutting demand by up to 40% while the critical workloads continue to run as normal. So, key results included peak smoothing, successfully reacted to spikes in demand during halftime of major football matches, proven AI can counterbalance sudden consumer electricity surges, long duration shifting, fall load reduction of requests for up to 10 hours, helping the grid navigate periods of low wind or extreme heat, system management, simulated a system stress event, shedding 30% of its load in just 30 seconds to help maintain grid resilience. As the UK prepares for over 6 gigawatts of data center deployments on the grid by 2030, this technology could enable AI data centers across the UK to add more than 2 gigawatt of capacity back to the grid when needed. So, the success of the trial demonstrates that AI data centers can move from being a source of electricity constraint to a controllable grid asset. By flexing demand in real time, they can help manage peaks, make better use of existing infrastructure, and support the connection of different sources of energy to the grid. Now, again, this is super interesting, and not something I you know, as an investor would have seen coming out. But I think um, and Manuel does a great job covering the name and kind of went over the details a little more, or kind of explained what it means and why it's important. And so I kind of want to go over what he says just to give you guys a tidbit of information. So please also go ahead and follow him. Obviously, he does great stuff in Nebius. I'm sure if you guys follow him, you follow me. But again, he went over to explain it. He then says this is important. Right now, data centers are treated as a fixed demand. As AI scales, that creates pressure on the grid and slows down new connections. But this trial shows something different, 100%. AI infrastructure can act as a flexible grid asset, reducing demand during peak stress and ramping up back later. Some real examples from the test. So, again, kind of what I talked about, they reduced the workload during halftime of major football matches, followed load reduction requests for up to 10 hours, and shed 30% of power in 30 seconds. So, why it matters? The UK expects more than 6 gigawatts of data center by 2030. If AI data centers can flex their demand, they can effectively return over 2 gigawatts of capacity back to the grid when needed. That's that around that 30% metric you're talking about. That means faster connections, less need for expensive grid upgrades, lower network costs over time, more room for renewable energy integration. And instead of AI being, a burden to the grid, which is what a lot of people are arguing, it actually could help stabilize it. And so for Nebius, this strengthens its positioning as the next gen AI cloud built with energy flexibility in mind. Now, again, a lot of wordy stuff, but really what it means is we're just so early that I think it's so hard to tell where this is going. Obviously, that's a super innovative test, and I'm curious to see how that'll go, moving forward. As you guys saw, shed 30% of the power in 30 seconds, and actually can be flexible for the grid rather than take and demand more power from the grid. And so moving forward, AI data centers could actually be a benefit to our communities rather than the argument that, hey, it's taking our power, it's going to make our electricity bills go up, et cetera, et cetera. I just thought it was a super interesting test, and I want to kind of give you guys a quick tidbit of it. It also just shows like how Nebius is executing and how they're thinking about this moving forward. They're not really trying to think about this as like, all right, let's just get our revenue while we can. Let's make all the money we can. Let's shift the AI data centers. Let's just make all the money we can. It's more of a how can we long term create a value proposition that ends up being like the AWS or the Azure or the GCP moving forward and be the leading AI cloud. We have to make those leading innovations. We have to test the new theories we have within the data centers. And so again, another reason, another part of why I love the Nebius story is they just continue to execute and continue to innovate, right? And so moving forward, I'll keep you guys apprised with any more innovative things they're doing, and how they're thinking about the sector moving forward. But I loved it. I think it's super cool, and it's another reason why I love owning this company. But yeah, that's everything I have this week. Just those two pieces of the news. I wanted to kind of cover them both real quick. Appreciate the support. Appreciate you guys following along, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.